Welcome everyone to Meet the Polymaker. I am your host, Nicor, or Joel. I haven't used Nicor in a while. Joel, Polymaker Joel, across the board. Welcome in everyone. For those that are new here, we're going to get right to it. This is a show. It's a show that happens every week at Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, yada, yada. It's programmed in my mind by now. Hopefully it's programmed in your mind. But where we talk about 3D printing news, and we also show off prints from our community, from our Discord and our Show Off Prints channel. So if you have anything to share, definitely come join, share there, and you might be showcased on the next show. But we also mainly, we come every week to meet a new maker, whether they're involved in projects, part of a big project, small project, cool project, they're in a school, robotics teams, just anything and everything across the board. Anybody that has a story, we want to hear it. We want to get to know more about them. So that's how I do it. I pull them into the show, and then a lot of them I meet for the first time and ask them questions and just have fun with it. So we'll be doing that here shortly. But first up, let's just get right to the news. First up, we're going to talk about what just got released on Monday. Well, I say released, but pre-order available Monday is the Anycubic Cobra 3 Max. We didn't really know anything about this printer until it showed up at Formnext, and suddenly it was just there. But now we, of course, have shipping dates, we have pricing, everything else. But first off, on the system itself, it is a 420 by 420 by 500 build size. It is a bed slinger, so it'll be interesting to see some of the larger prints on how it handles it and how strong the structure is. For that, it does have a dual Y-axis motors, dual Z-axis motors. And then it's got 600 millimeter speed second. It's got all the standard stuff, 10,000 Excel, a little slower on that because now we're at the 20 and 30 on average. But an 800 watt hotbed that goes from 25C to 60C in about 125 seconds. But biggest thing is it's going to be the largest consumer grade multicolor printer out. Now, I don't believe it's still going to start shipping until February, between February 20th and March 20th. You can pay a ridiculous amount of money to get it shipped quicker via air for I think a couple $100 more. So if you're wanting to get it quick before anybody else, that would be the way to do it. But it also does come with the Ace combo or the Ace Pro, the Anycubic Color Engine Pro. And that is basically their AMS. It's a 4-spool. It does have active or intelligent drying in it, which that is kind of a cool effect or cool feature. But the big thing here is it's a $9.99 price point. But right now, I think for the next 2 days, well, from Monday, I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, go to the site. There's going to be different pricing scales. First, I think 500 or 600 are going to be early bird, but you can get it as of Monday. You can get it at $5.99. There's some coupon codes you can use out there to get it down to like $5.79, which is crazy for a printer this size. I've got a Cobra 3 myself combo, and it worked great. And that was before any of the updates. And I've heard it only has made it better. It's just more of, I'm used to the bamboo environment. So I use it as I need it, but it's worked great. So if you're interested, get over to Anycubic and then check it out. Next up, we are going to talk about an innovation in concrete printing. We've talked about concrete printing many, many times, homes, hotels, camps, luxury homes, etc. I wanted to share this because this is Cobod, which is one of the main manufacturers of concrete printers throughout the throughout the world. But now they have their new BOD3 printer, which uses 99% locally sourced materials. It's got a new modular design allowing specific needs for each project. Of course, not every house is the same. Not every structure is the same. It's being able to be adapted quicker and easier on site, able to be controlled with a single integrated system. So a lot operation doesn't require several systems all coordinating together. It's one system to run it all. Yeah, like the ring. Anyway, but it also has a universal X carriage for integration of additional tools for insulating, painting, and sanding. So they're getting to a point where it's going to be more than just laying down the concrete for the base and everybody else having to be in there to do some more manual labor. It's able to do more. Now, how fine-tuned that is, I'm not sure. I think they only had a few out there in like Indonesia, a couple different places. But it's interesting to see, like I said, we see it more often in the consumer printers of things being, the innovation leading to more features, newer things, faster printers, etc. happens across the board, whether it be in medical or automotive or and building structures. So it's going to be interesting to see where we're at in a couple years. Next up, we're going to talk about origami and 3D printing. So for those that have ever done origami, if you have one of the two main folds, and it took me forever to understand this when I had several origami books and learned to do origami as a kid, is mountain folds and valley folds. So what this is doing is they've actually, I missed, there we go. They were able to create a foldable self-locking structures by using multi-material, and basically using a more rigid material, wrapping it in like a TPU or a softer material. It allows a lot of different flexibility and options to where, again, you can create complex and structural or functional structures, and also flat structures that you can print flat and then form into 3D objects. With sometimes if you're doing, say, PLA, maybe you're going to crack it, it's going to split, it's not going to be as strong. Now it's going to get a coating, it'll have that flexibility, but still have rigidity. Something actually this reminded me of was one of our community members, Tisket, had done the tracks for a death racer and did it in cleared TPU, but then had inside of it had just like a thin layer of PLA, and it allowed her to do like a rainbow design inside a clear TPU track, which was a very cool effect. So this is kind of a more commercialized use of that for more functional prints. Not that that track wasn't functional, but it was meant to be aesthetic when how she used it. So there's going to be different ways we're going to see this integrated in a lot of things going forward. And then also talking about soft plastics like TPU, wrapping those origami folded designs, is Princeton engineers have developed an easy, scalable 3D printing technique to manufacture soft plastics with programmed flexibility. So what that means is, they can print an object and they can determine the flexibility of certain parts of that object. One side could, in one direction is a hard material, where the other directions are soft. All kind of the same material, but it's programmed and tuned to where it can actually adjust that flexibility. This can be used, on mounts, on joints, on a lot of different things. But it's going to be cool because, like I said, they can be soft, they can be stretchy, or hard, and you can change that with all in the same material rather than doing multi-material or having to combine two materials via glue, plastic welding or solvents. So again, another thing we're going to see be developed into more and more things of creating things that we never even thought possible with 3D printing. And last but not least, we're going to the moon. NASA which they actually funded a project back in 2020 for about $60 million as the Project Olympus. Their goal is building structures on the surface of the moon and then eventually to the surface of Mars. How they plan on doing this is with giant robots that 3D print. And that is also that way, we can't just take steel beams and everything else up to space easily in a rocket. Weight is a huge thing when launching those things. So this is going to use locally sourced material, lunar rock, or whatever other material might be on the surface of the moon. But it will be able to develop those structures. That way they're livable structures eventually. No ETA, but they are working with the company Icon, which we've talked about that company, a lot of things and different technology for 3D printing and different methods. But they're working on developing these giant robot arm 3D printers that can go to space and help build these, eventually maybe communities and hotels and casinos. Who knows what we're gonna build, but it never stops, and we'll keep on growing and until we outgrow Earth and move elsewhere. So we'll see you on the moon soon. So now we're going to go do the print show-offs, and I always say it, but I always notice when I do that transition, I don't have a transition that goes into this. It would be fun that way. But anyway, we do get all of them, or I get these all from the Show Off Prints channel on our Discord at discord.polymaker.com. You can share any of your prints, whether they be good, great, bad, ugly, complete and utter fails. We love seeing everything. We've shared fails on here too. They're a lot of times fun, especially when you can kind of manipulate a picture with them. That's just a funny take on something that just was unfortunate. But what we're looking at right now is not unfortunate. This is 16,500 3D printed toys that are that have already went to Toys for Tots to be distributed to children across the U.S. The significance here is Toys for Tots does collect a lot of toys, and of course the last few years they've been doing 3D printed toys. There's a lot there. Ernie TFT. If anybody's ever seen Maker Deck, he's always on there. Usually if you hear Toys for Tots, you've heard the name Ernie somewhere. These 16,500 toys are all printed by him. I got the chance to meet with Ernie at 3D Printopia earlier this year, and finding out that the guy is not really into 3D printing. It's something like, hey, I love 3D printing stuff and I got it for this and this. He does it to do the toys. That's his purpose. That's these totes and 16,500 toys. That's his purpose for 3D printing. That's what he uses it for. Now, whether that changes over the course of time and he'll print some fun stuff for himself, probably, but to have this kind of dedication to give back to those that he will likely never meet is an amazing gesture. And again, it's not necessarily a specific model. There's a lot of models. I think Fix'em Dude was finally approved with some of his models for Toys for Tots. But I had to share because it was an amazing thing that Ernie does, and he does it every year. And I'm sure next year 20,000 plus. I don't know, but we're gonna have on the show hopefully soon here, and we'll talk about kind of what goes into the processing of such a large, tall order. Next up, we are going to look at a print from Ruth Amos, and she's over in Europe. She's one of our partners. We sponsored this project, which turned out absolutely amazing. This is, we're calling it, I don't know what the official name is going to be, Connecting Blocks Christmas Tree. You guys know what the connecting blocks are. This is modeled by Ellis. It is not available currently anywhere. I'm not sure if they're going to release it available just because the thing with the L word, but it is I don't know if it was 6 foot total, but this, what you see here is not just a 3D printed tree. Those are 3D printed pieces, every single piece, just like the original that you buy in the box in retail and assembled in place. The only difference with this is it does, I think, have a solid wood base and a stem that goes up the center, just helping for structure. But there's no glue other than pieces that were too large to fit on a printer. They glued them together. But this is all snap fit. This is exactly like the original was made, which if you see right, I don't know if there we go. Oh, my finger disappears. But that little tree right next to it, that's the real one. And that's what they scaled up. So amazing print. I'm glad they shared it. There's a video out there. I think it's attached to the post in this. So go to Show Off Prints and click it and show some support to Ruth. She does some amazing things with Kids Invent Things, I believe is the channel. But beautiful print for the holiday. Next up is 3D JP Designs, has printed and is also the modeler for this. These are available on their Patreon. I don't know if there's official names. I don't have the Patreon, but Flexi Narwhal, Walrus, and Penguin, beautiful, plus in a gradient filament. It looked good with the eyes and everything. The detail is there. It adds a little bit more character to the mini Flexis that we've seen all over the place. So just a beautiful print and an excellent photo. I mean, I wish I could take photos like that. Next up, we have Ravens Creations, who printed the mechanically locking gift box. This is designed by James the Printer, available on printables, and it is exactly what it says. It is a locking gift box. There's actually a mechanism. It's all 3D printed. The snowflake twists. It allows the latches to pull in, and then you open it up. So whether you put a gift card in it, or money, or glitter, or anything that you see fit, put in that box, give it as a gift, or give it as a curse to somebody if you want to put glitter or something smelly in it. But again, just a great print for the holiday. Last but not least, another one final for the holiday prints is Ajax, not to be confused with Ajax, two different people. But Ajax has printed the Bamboo Christmas Cabin. I actually personally printed this for my mother-in-law last year. It's all in pieces, flat. It's really easy to print, pretty easy to put together. But again, beautiful print with all the multicolors, and again, for the holidays, it's the perfect theme. So that is available on Maker World, and again, modeled by Bamboo Lab or one of their internal modelers. So awesome print if you guys want to pick that up. But that is it for the prints. Again, if you want to share your own, discord.polymaker.com, and it's Show Off Prints channel. We also have Show Off Setup, we have Hangout, we have all sorts of stuff. Tons of fun stuff there. So come join us. It is an ever-growing community of positivity and just knowledge. So hope to see you there soon. We're going to break for commercial, and after the commercial, we're going to meet our next maker. So stay tuned, and we'll see you here shortly.
Imagine owning some of the best songs about 3D printing this Discord has to offer. Polymaker presents 3D Printing Hits by Silverback and Little D, the best renditions of some of the greatest hits of all time. Hits like Hallelujah, Polly Smooth Criminal, All That She Wants Is Another Printer, Print Away,
There you go, print away.
Still the TD1, All About That Bag, No Stabbies, and Polyman.
It's a file tonight. We're all in the mood to see it extrude, 'cause you've got your printer tuned right.
Reserve your CD today with a special TV offer by going to polymaker.com and paying $39.99. Have your credit card ready. Seriously though, this music was a joke. Go buy some Polymaker.
This is Polymax PLA, the toughest PLA in the world, and today we're gonna put that to the test. I printed this very mechanical model and we're gonna drop it from the 12th floor. You heard me well, the 12th floor. Let's go! Ready for the first drop in 3, 2, 1. Whoa, that's crazy! Not even a scratch! Let's go and check it closer. Not even a single scratch. I dropped it again from the 12th floor and still not a single scratch. Buy your Polymax PLA right now!
Performance may vary depending on usage, individual factors, and external conditions. Individual result may vary, not a guarantee of specific outcome. Consult your professional before use. See website for details and limitations. Use responsibly.
Have you had bad customer service with your filament provider? Have you ever gotten a bad spool and never got a response when you emailed the company? Well, that won't ever happen when you reach out to Polymaker. Some people say that no company cares about you. Wrong. 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 If you never got a response after emailing a company that you've worked with in the past, you may be entitled to better customer service. We at Polymaker pride ourselves on good customer service, and we won't ever keep you waiting for a response. Email us now at support@polymaker.com and we'll get back to you within 1 business day. We'll fight for you.
"'Twas the night before Christmas, and in this small village was a polymaker named Klaus, asleep in his house. Inside nothing stirred, all was calm, the lights gleamed, and the night carried on. Santa had come, arrived with his presents. He'd left dear Klaus filament. He'd be oh so effervescent. Stock up on Polymaker, for the Polymaker in your life, or to create gifts for others.
And welcome back to the show, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the commercials. Many of them community submitted. You can submit yours too at Commercial Channel in our discord.polymaker.com. But enough of that. We are here to meet our next maker. You may have seen him behind the cameras at many rep rap festivals, or you've seen him in front of cameras on Hot Makes. So please welcome in Caleb. How's it going, Caleb?
It's going all right. I have some coffee, so it's going better.
There you go. Got to jumpstart the day, right? One way or another.
Oh yeah.
So Caleb, for those that don't know you, don't recognize you, have never met you, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Caleb. Oftentimes on socials, I'll go by either CD Ferris or Emil1138, which, if you get the reference, I owe you a pack of Smarties or some cookies or whatever ends up working for you. Yeah, I've been in the 3D printing world for about 10 years or so now. Started off with building 3D printers, and it just never let go of me. It's just a total stranglehold on me ever since then. Even when I tried to run away.
Printing,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. As soon as you might get a little bored of one thing, there's something else.
Something else pops up. Yeah. Whether it's a new material or a new printer or somebody's model where it's like, all right, let's dust this thing off. I got to make one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't let go of you. It really doesn't. But
and how long ago did you start it? Would you say?
20, let's say it's 2016 or earlier.
What?
No, not 2016. It would have been probably closer to 2012 or 2013, I believe.
So early, yeah.
Yeah. It's I was in high school when I started. I had an idea that I felt 3D printing would be a good solution for a product that I wanted to make and sell to folks. Spoiler alert, 3D printing was not the right solution for it. But that gave me an excuse to possibly get into 3D printing. And what I ended up doing was I lived in Indiana. I was born and raised and grew up in the northern Indiana area. So See Me CNC was kind of a big deal at the time. It was one of the first U.S. manufacturers of affordable desktop 3D printers, and they were maybe 45 minutes away from where I lived at the time. So I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested in 3D printing. I want to see if it's something that would be viable for me to possibly purchase one and start. And it's kind of fun thinking back at the time because I was like, I didn't even know what supports were. I was like, why is my plastic drooping? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I called them and they were willing to let me come out. It was John Olafson at the time. He was like Steve's right-hand man, basically. Steve Wygant was the owner. Still is, I believe. I say I believe because I honestly don't really know what they're doing. I love Steve and I love their family.
I
and
haven't
it's
seen
just
the name in the market for a little while.
Exactly.
Yep.
The most time I see the name is on my arm. So
Yeah.
right there. So
Is that really an arm, or is it considered now a billboard? Some type of tax cuts or something.
Little bit of everything. Yeah. There isn't a single person that I don't have some sort of connection to or a massive amount of respect for, or I've worked with them before or whatever, or it's a friend that owns the company, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I called them and John was like, yeah, come out to the factory. We'll or warehouse at the time. We'll show you what we have. And I showed up. It was their Orion. I still have one in storage right now. But it was their Orion Delta printer, which was maybe like a 7 to 8 inch glass plate when we were using glass for plates.
Yep.
Back
in some of these people watching have no idea what you're talking. Glass?
No, yeah, I know.
What?
Hey, that was the best way to do things for a while.
It was.
People were using painter's tape, man.
I
can't imagine
tape. I remember
Kapton tape.
People buying cheap mirrors from the dollar store and cutting those just whatever works.
Yep.
So.
But yeah, there was I was interested in their Orion, and Andy Oprisco was their kind of lead assembly guy at the time. And they were like, what do you want, a white one or a black one? They had two options, white melamine or black melamine. They were laser cut frames, back in those days as well. And I was like, well, what do you have on hand right now? And they were like, well, we have maybe 10 or 12 black ones on the shelf ready to go right now. You can walk out with it right now if you want to. If you want a white one, you're going to have to wait because we don't have any done right now. But he said it should only take about half an hour to 45 minutes for Andy to finish putting the final touches on it and uploading the firmware and doing calibration and stuff.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, well, if I choose a white one, can I stick around and like bug him and ask him questions and look over his shoulder while he's calibrating it? Because I'm interested in that side of things too. I don't want to just walk away with the product. I want to understand it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, sure. And apparently that resonated with them because about a week or two later, John called me and he's like, hey, you got a job? And I was like, yeah, I was working at a computer store at the time. Another thing that doesn't exist anymore. It was a computer repair stop. Can you imagine going to a dedicated, like, I am walking into a build? Well, you can't imagine because you probably remember too, but
a Radio Shack even.
Oh man, Radio Shacks. I miss Radio Shacks. But like it was called PC Direct, and you could walk into the building and they had everything from RAM to hard drives to motherboards to just blank empty cases, and they repaired your computers for you and everything. That doesn't exist anymore. That's called Amazon now.
I say close thing is Micro Center, and not everybody's got a Micro Center.
Nope. No.
Within 2.5 hours, I have 4, so I'm good there.
Oh, you're lucky. That and yeah, sorry. I go off on tangents. But anyway, so I was like, yeah, I'm working at PC Direct right now. And he's like, well, Andy was really impressed with the types of questions you were asking, combined with some of the things that you knew already, probably from your experience at the computer, doing computer repair and stuff. So he's like, we'd like to bring you on board if you're interested. So I joined. I started building printers. I started building them from scratch, running the lasers every now and then. It was a small still was. I don't really know. A small company at the time, and I wore multiple hats. I would help with shipping every now and then too, and I just stuck around. I loved the people. I loved the mechanical aspects of things. I loved calibrating the printers. I loved using the printers, Yeah. Sometimes my calibration prints were things that I just needed to make for myself, What better way to test the printer? Yeah.
He's printed regardless. Yep.
And I was there throughout all the way until when I graduated high school, and then I moved out of town for college. And then they moved to a factory that was bigger, or a building that was bigger, and was actually closer to where I went to college. So then I jumped back on board, and I ended up, college, you kind of like join jobs, leave jobs, depending on, you kind of go, I'm too busy.
What you really want to do and what you have the time and availability for. And
you're like, school is taking up so much of my time. I can't work right now. And then like 3 weeks later, you're like, crap, I'm broke.
I need
a job.
These ramen noodles are getting a little bit old.
Yep. Eating hot dogs with regular bread is like, ugh. So anyway, I was on and off working for them for about 6 years or so, 6 or 8 years over time. And then I moved to Arkansas. And so I was working for them up until I moved to Arkansas. And again, just never stopped. I kept ended up going, moved all the, when I first came down to Arkansas, I'll stop doing side tangents at some point.
So we're here to meet the maker, and we're learning more about you. Some of the inner thoughts of Caleb.
Yeah, you don't want to do that too much. No.
Maybe a 3
you
or 4
ever seen,
hour show.
You've seen The Shining, right? The maze at the end. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You go into the inner workings of Caleb, you're going to be found like frozen to death after a little while because you can't find your way up.
By the end of this interview, I'm not even going to say like bye or thanks for coming. It's just going to be click. I'm just going to cut it.
Yep. Yep.
So you're just going to go on for another hour before you realize that I cut it. I do the same thing, so I'm not going to pick fun.
Well, when I decided to move to Arkansas, it was kind of like a weird situation because a friend and business partner of mine up in Indiana had moved down here to be an instructor at a college down here, and we closed the business because of that. And I didn't really have like any solid, like rock solid connections at the time, and I was kind of like concerned about where things were going with CME/CNC at the time. I didn't know how much of a future that would, or like a career growth opportunity that would be for me after college. So, and I would like again, I love them. I still love them, you know, and I loved the place and what we were doing, but I was just kind of ready to do something different. So I came down to Arkansas to visit my friend Pete. And maybe about a week before I was supposed to head down here, he called me and he's like, "So when you come down to visit, what if you just stayed?" He's like, you're already like, you're staying with I was staying with him and his wife because they had a spare bedroom. And he's like, what if that just, you know, he's like, I know you don't have any plans, but he's like, we're not going to charge you rent. You can figure it out, you know, just give it a try. So, all of this is leading up to what I was getting to was when I first came down. I came down and visited him for 2 weeks, went back up, put in my 2 weeks notice, and then came down permanently again after that. But that first trip down, I came down with my essentials, and my essentials were my bed, my TV, and the Xbox I had at the time. And
Xbox has got it ranked up there, yeah, with the
priorities. Some clothes, because those are important, I guess. Clothes for a couple weeks, and my 3D printer. You know, that was on my list of essentials. I couldn't go down even for 2 weeks without having my printer to mess with. And it just, I don't know, man. Like I said, it just never let go of me. And my career path didn't follow 3D printing. My career path, when I went down, you know, I went to school for graphic design and photography, and then I ended up self-teaching myself a lot of video production stuff because I realized that's what I was more interested in. And most of my career so far has been in the marketing space, but focusing on content creation and videography, and specifically not necessarily always, you know, not everybody does a YouTube thing for a little while. And honestly, I hope nobody finds that channel because there's some cringy stuff on there. But I was more interested in, I was more interested in the connection or the cross between creative storytelling, creative video production, but how can it be applied in a commercial environment, and how it can kind of directly translate into selling something, but in a way that makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Not just a typical sales pitch, and you know,
right. And for people and with people who I believe in. That's just the thing. There are a lot of crappy companies out there, dude, and a lot of people who just don't care. They just want to make a buck. So what I was more interested in was making content and making, specifically focusing on video, but also doing design and web development and photography and stuff, to lift up the voices of companies that are trying to make a profit, but are ran by good people who actually care. You know,
the right way,
which is kind of where a lot of the tattoo situations started. It was like, yes, I'm working with these companies, and I love these brands, but to me, the logos mean the people. You know, I want
the ethics align with your own.
Not all the time. You know, sometimes sometimes the owner. I'm not gonna name anybody, but sometimes the owner might be a little like, okay, we have some different beliefs, but also like, they're a good person, you know, like different beliefs, you know, some of them,
we don't have to agree on everything.
Exactly. And the few like logo tattoos that kind of started that weird theme going on were people who I absolutely like couldn't stand them, you know, just drove me nuts anytime I heard their voice. And then once I actually gave them a chance, I realized that they were really good people, and I've learned some really good things from them. I've become a better person by becoming friends with them. And that's kind of where that logo meant more than their company, you know. Yes, there's a fun kind of like the fun gimmick of it where it's like, oh, you're actually going to get my logo tattooed, you know. But for me, it means more than that, you know.
So what does it take for a company to make their way onto your arm? Because I didn't see a Polymaker logo on there.
I've asked Nick, and his response was, we don't really do that. And that happens, you know. There's probably 3 or 4 people that I've approached where they're like, yeah, we don't really, that's cool, but
we don't want you necessarily putting the logo permanently on your body.
Right.
That's probably the big thing too, is it's a permanent thing. So like,
but hey, man, at the end of the day, everything from head to toe is ending up, it's going to be in the same hole in the ground. Like, I don't care. You know, and these are either stepping stones or friends or lessons that I've learned more than anything. So,
and then I'm
or
sure
just
to a conversation piece. So
Oh,
you're
yeah.
talking to somebody like, wait, what is that? And that, like, oh,
I was
this
literally,
is-
I was shooting a video. I was doing video and photo coverage for an event literally on Friday, which is am I allowed to say this is pre-recorded? I'm sure people
Yeah.
know. Yeah, which was
Yeah, I
like
mean,
2 days ago.
okay.
And
Yep.
yeah, and I was at this event on Friday, and somebody walked up and was like, "Hey," it was one of the event coordinators, so we already talked a few times during the course of the night. It was like a Christmas party for a plumbing company, and the weird things you get into in the video production. Anyway,
Wherever you're needed.
yeah, the guy just kind of mentioned that he was into 3D printing, and I was like, "That's cool. So am I." And he's like, "Yeah, I have an Etsy shop," and I'm like, "That's cool. So do
So
I."
do I.
Yeah, and I was like, "What kind of things do you sell on your Etsy shop?" And he's like, "Oh, I make custom parts and more affordable replacement parts for some of the old classic like Bionicle figures." And I'm like, "I also like
Oh.
Lego. Who are you?"
Yeah.
And I was thinking for a little
Brother?
while, I was like, I know. I was like, why did he just randomly bring up 3D printing with me? That's weird. Like,
The
what made him
arms.
think? And then I was like, oh, it's the arms. That's probably what it was. So yeah, it is conversation starters, but at the same time, for me, it's just fun too. Like for me, I want to be the reason I'm doing logos instead of like phrases or like a dove flying turning into feathers or any of the typical stuff or like some sort of like Japanese letters that I don't actually know how to translate.
That don't translate properly.
Yeah, exactly. For me, like the aesthetic that I like that I'm kind of going for is being a travel suitcase covered in stickers of all the things that of my journey
Kind
through
of
life.
marked, yeah, like a check mark through life.
Mhm.
Like, hey, I remember
Exactly.
this. I remember where I was, when I was, what I was doing, and what
Mhm.
was involved. And yeah, it's kind of your own little storybook, your own little diary.
Yeah, yeah. And there are a few people that I've talked to and some of them have happened, some of them haven't, where it's like I don't really know them when they're like, dude, that's cool, let's do this. But still, it's like I don't know. I would not be the person that I am today if it wasn't for every single person that either has a booth or doesn't at the Rep Rap festivals or at Rapid or at 3D Printopia, or you know what I mean? Like I
Just
am
those interactions and then the relationships that build
Yeah.
from there. Yep.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed of just how many new people and people that I would have never met any other way. Like just
all-
happened to
yeah.
meet there, and then okay, hey, let's link up on Discord. And now, I mean, we've got
Yep.
the Hangout always has just random, but I mean, I have best friends that I've made in the past year and a half of just through, like you said, those connections, those interactions that started as just a hey, who are you? Oh yeah, I do this, I do
Yep.
this. Oh cool, and then just it's awesome to be part of that community for sure.
Yep. Jim, so a guy named Jim Carter, he's up in the Detroit area. He's
He's a president, yeah.
Huh? Well, yeah, that's not. He jokes around about that, yeah. But and that's actually his original. There's a story behind this CME CNC Artemis that's actually behind me. But oh hey, I didn't even mean to do that. There's a Polymaker roll hanging on that A1 Mini right there too.
It's what's that subliminal advertising?
I didn't mean to, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, he started off as a tech support ticket. The first time I saw his name was a ticket coming across Zendesk, and that was probably, like I said, maybe 8 years ago. And I still text him every now and then. We still talk to each other every now and then, So,
Yeah.
and everything traces back, dude. The only reason I'm here is because I know you. The only reason I know you is because, one, I started doing things with Sam, and Sam does things with Polymaker, and because of that, we've met at a few events, but also because of the relationship with Polymaker that exists.
Yep.
But the only reason I know Sam is because we had him on as a guest one time on a Hot Makes. Jim brought him on. The only reason I'm on Hot Makes is because Jim invited me to be a part of it. The only reason I know Jim is because I was editing his videos for a while on 3D printing related stuff, and the only reason I was editing his videos is because he came to Indiana during one of the original Midwest Rep Rap festivals,
Okay, yeah.
and was shooting a video for his channel when he only had like 500 subscribers. And he was using the same model of camera that I had at the time, and we connected there when he was coming to film at the CME CNC factory when we were doing a factory tour. So it all comes back. It all
interconnects,
just
yeah.
traces back. I started building printers, and that led to me meeting you somehow. through a weird like ping pong of
Yep. And that's the thing too, is you're not that old, so you got still plenty of years ahead of you.
I know.
So
And I've been reaching out
4 or 5.
Yeah. And like I've been doing a lot more reaching out lately. I hadn't realized how many people I have already been connected with in some way, or I'm like connected adjacent with, or I've maybe even done projects with them and didn't even realize it. I'm suddenly becoming very aware of that over the last couple of months that I've been trying to be more active, and not necessarily just a guy behind the camera producing things, but I don't really be outgoing. I've been trying to be more outgoing recently. And I recently, reconnected with Mara from Matter Hackers, and realized that she started at Matter Hackers at the same time I started at See Me CNC. And See Me CNC starting a partnership with Matter Hackers as a reseller was one of the first things that she worked on. While at the time, when they were getting shipments, when they were getting shipments of like 15 or more See Me CNC printers to resell on the Matter Hackers website, those printers had my initials on the bottom of them, and that I originally met David Gaylord first, but ended up meeting Mara over time. And, just recently started talking to her, and then she's like, "Oh, you're in Arkansas?" Yeah, we've got a few people in Arkansas already, in the Bentonville area, which is maybe 3.5 hours away, but still it's like, and she's like, one of them is Joel Gordon. And I was like, I've been friends with Joel Gordon on Facebook for like a couple years now, but he and I have never actually met each other yet. And she's like, all right. So then I get on a call with Joel Gordon, and Joel's like, yeah, we know each other, but we never talked yet. And I'm like, I know. And he's like, well, I know. And then, so I know Jimmy DiResta. Jimmy invited me over to his farmhouse back in 2017 when I was working on a project that I knew he would be interested in. I sent him some information, and he was like, yeah, if you're driving through town, stop by. And apparently Joel is friends with Jimmy and has been friends with Jimmy for a while, and it's like, I'm just recently realizing how many people I've been connected with, and I just haven't started the conversation yet,
Yeah.
And every time I go to an event, that seems to happen,
And it's sometimes humbling, is just the fact of, yes, your face is out there. And I had the same kind of awakening for 3D Rentopia. It was the first event as the official community manager. And of course I've done the show, prior to that for, through most of this year. But just people coming up and saying, hey, Joel, hey, congratulations on the job. And like, I don't recognize them. So it's like, what's their name? And then like, okay, well, what's your Discord name? And they say, I'm like, still doesn't ring a bell, but like, it's, you don't realize like, how many people you said that you've connected with in one way or another, whether directly, indirectly, and then they know you. And then, like I said, then of how many of those connections know somebody that knows somebody. Hey, I met this person. Let's connect them. And it's just, it's insane. The interconnectivity of networking that happens at these events.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's just the process of it happening, or if it's a little bit of nostalgia for me, but it's been bringing back that feeling of like, being friends with people, but not knowing until you meet them in person who they are. There's something about that reveal that's just like almost addicting to me. Cause like when I was in high school, one of the other things that I started getting involved in was the 501st Legion, which is the Star Wars costuming group. And I joined forums, on the Mandalorian Mercs and the 501st Legion and the Rebel Legion. And, it was at the time where Facebook groups didn't exist, and the PHPB forums, the typical kind of like forum landscape was like the way people connected over similar, is before Reddit was really like a popular thing. It was before Facebook market or Facebook groups, and there's moments where like I would go to an event and somebody would be in a Boba Fett costume, and I would be like acting, putting my best foot forward, acting like, it's somebody that I haven't met before, and they're in the Star Wars costuming group, so they're automatically a friend, but I want to be like, and then
let's get to know
like
who this really is.
Yeah. And so like, sorry, what was your name? Oh, my name is Matt. And I'm like, Matt, and you have Boba Fett. You're Boba Matt. It's like, yeah. I'm like, that's your user. Okay, so you're the person I've been talking to about XYZ thing for the last 2 months. And he's like, yeah, I thought you realized that. And I'm like, I just put two and two together.
Yeah.
And that has been happening so much more recently. And there's something about that that just feels so wholesome and inviting and like familial, I guess.
Yeah, it's like making a new connection that's not new. It's kind of
exactly.
like refreshing an old friendship. And it's like, oh yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying.
And I've always told Sarah, because Sarah didn't really know anything about the Legion until her and I, started dating, and now she's not super involved. She does. I'm not super involved either, but she does go do things with me.
Before she, decided to stay with you.
Oh, of course, talking about, I've got real Star Wars costumes was one of the things that, but she didn't realize exactly how deep that went.
Never knew. Yeah. Like, wait, what is this?
Oh,
this.
You were serious? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've always told her, like, the cool thing about the 501st Legion is, because there's costumers and garrisons all around the world, is that we have friends literally anywhere we go. If I go to Las Vegas, I've never been to Las Vegas. I'd like to go at some point, but I've never been to Las Vegas yet. No. All I got to do is reach out to the local garrison and say, hey, I'm a member in the Diamond Garrison in Central Arkansas, and I'd love to get together. We'll probably get a group of 15, 20, 25 people in their local garrison coming out and grabbing beers together. And I'm like, we have friends literally everywhere we go. And over the past few years, going to more events, and a huge thanks to Sam, who's wanted to get me involved as his like travel producer, videographer when he goes to events in the States specifically. I've been getting that same experience in the 3D printing world. And it's like you said, it's like it's unexpected and humbling, but it's also just like it feels like everywhere I go, I have friends. And man, there is another side of that coin that's a little bit like, which is then I come home and I'm like, man, I guess all my friends are online, huh? I guess I only get to see them a few times in the year, and now I'm just kind of like,
Yep.
Well,
I guess I'll see you in 12 months. Like, oh, exactly. Are you going to the next event? Okay, well, that's 4 months away. So
exactly.
Maybe okay, well, maybe I'll see you there. And it's like, yeah.
But the cool part is,
like I said, all the new friends you make, and it's like, oh man, like we can connect through Discord, and that's what I love about Discord is, it's one thing to be able to just like call up somebody and talk, but especially when you can get 5, 10, 15 people together, and we talk 3D printing, but we also just have fun, sarcastic humor, and
yep.
But then you can also flip your video on, and it makes a little bit more of a personal connection of, hey, I can see you, hey, check this printout, oh awesome. It's just you can kind of have that same a minimalized version of what you had at the
yes.
rep wraps and everything else.
Yeah, and I need to be more involved, more active in Discord. I have a little bit of like a I don't know when it developed, and maybe it's a little bit of ADHD, maybe it's a little bit of anxiety, maybe it's a little bit of antisocial. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, but I have like an old man brain when it comes to social media and like avenues of communication, despite being in marketing, where it's like, you have my number, text me. I'm like, people message me on Facebook and I don't get to it very quickly. People, so like when somebody's like, oh, you should download this app and we can talk through there. I'm like, dude, I don't need another avenue.
Another app.
I know.
Another
so like
notification that stays up in your bar.
But I don't want to be left out, and I want to keep those friendships and those relationships rolling. So I'm trying to be more active in Discord. Yeah. Before we jumped on this call, you were like, are you on the Polymaker Discord? And I'm like, I'm adding myself now. I need to. I know I need to. I just haven't done it yet.
It's like a pre-requirement. You can't come on the show unless you're part of the Discord.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Not really.
Yeah, you told me. Yeah, not just that, but just like being friends. You specifically told me you are dead to me if you have not entered. If you're not a part of it.
Word for word, you're right. I don't know you anymore. Who are you?
Yeah, yeah. It's like in the Deadpool Wolverine movie. It's like Joel totally said this, and Joel's like, I totally didn't say that, and then the end credits is you saying it. Yeah,
like, oh wait, Caleb was recording this conversation the whole time. Wow,
I was
busted.
Mm-hmm.
But well, let's say, so with 3D printing and everything, I know you said you have an Etsy. What do you do? What do you focus on Etsy, and kind of what started? Was it just kind of a extra income source, or what was your idea behind it?
So it's weird because it was such a fast paced time period that it's hard for me to really try to nail down that story without or the reasoning behind that without turning it into a story. But if I want to try to make a long
Many
story
pieces.
short, I know. Yeah. I was always kind of interested in seeing what I could do with 3D printing. Everybody wants to buy a 3D printer and thinks they can make money off of it. And you don't make money off of owning a 3D printer. You make money off of having a good design. That 3D printing is a tool
Good idea,
to create. Yep, a good idea. Yep. Finding solutions to problems. Just like, look, hammers have been around forever and everybody has access to a hammer. But if you don't have a good idea, you're not just going to make money by buying a hammer, you know?
Yep.
So I reached out. Kind of what started happening was I reached out to John. He goes by 3D Printing World Online. I always kind of liked his lightsaber designs. I wasn't subscribed to him or anything, but he also has like some boxes with some good gearing systems in them and planetary, like good cool ways of opening.
Just fun
So I was
stuff,
like, So I was like, hey, I think you do a good job. You know, you seem to be really good at making mechanically moving things. I'm planning on proposing to Sarah soon, and I have this idea for a ring box that I could propose to her with that has an opening top to it with a magnolia flower on it. Because it's a long story, but there's kind of like a thing in our relationship regarding, you know, revolving around magnolias. And he was very nice and very helpful, and he actually was willing to help me out, and he designed this box, and then he got XYZ 3D print. I feel so bad. I shouldn't forget people's
there's a lot of people,
usernames.
a lot of sites out there.
I know. Her name is Louisa, but I forget her exact username. I think it's XYZ 3D print or 3D print. No. Okay, but her Louisa. Yeah. She does more organic stuff and like organic sculpting, and John does more mechanical stuff. So the two of them work together to make this ring box for me to propose to Sarah with. So then I was like, man, you guys did this and you just want to do it for free. So I subscribed to both of their like design. I was like, it's the least I can do. They were like, no, you don't have to. I was like, the least I can do is subscribe. And then I started printing more of John's lightsabers, and people thought they were cool, and a couple people wanted to buy them off of me. And I was like, you know what? You know,
Make a little side cash.
Yep. And then what happened was somebody locally had purchased a P1P, a Bambu Lab P1P, and didn't have time to mess with it. There's nothing wrong with it. It was pretty much brand new in the box. He just didn't actually know what to do with it, or, you know, he thought it'd be cool and then ended up not using it. So he was selling it for a pretty good price. And I was like, yeah, I kind of want to check out these new printers. Because at the time I was still just like nothing but the Artemis. You know, I just had a couple of these old slower Deltas, right? And then when I bought that off of that guy and immediately like got that rekindled love for, because it's like, oh, now it's faster and it's higher quality, and like, oh, okay, now I'm super excited,
and it's going to spit out what I want it to without tinkering, messing, warping, and all the failures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then I was like, okay, so what if I printed some lightsabers and actually put them up for sale? I started kind of like a family and friends co-op called Maker Bees Creative, where after the tornado a few years back, Sarah and I were living with her family, like aunt and uncle, basically. They had a spare room that we were staying in, and he has this amazing shop. It's a barn. It used to be a horse barn, but he converted it into a shop that's got like every tool under the planet. He's got a CNC, all the woodworking stuff you need. And like it's insulated and has heating and cooling and everything. It's just like a cool shop. And since we were living there, you know, I was just across the yard from the shop, and I started spending more time in there, and he was interested in 3D printing, and I started teaching him 3D printing stuff and resin, like FDM printing and resin printing. And we all just started making more things together, and we all had our own kind of specialized skills and things we were interested in, and we started teaching each other things. And then we were like, well, what if we went to a couple local shows, and like tried selling some of our stuff together? And then we started doing that, and I needed some of the stuff I make and sell is for like costumes and for Legion members and stuff. So I wanted a way to give my local garrison members that I'm become friends with now a discount on the stuff that I made and sold on the website without like giving people discounts to everything on the website that Ken and Nikki, his wife, and our friend Haley and Jen make, our other friend Jen. So I kind of like, I had to make a category on the website that was a separate thing that was just my stuff. And then I was like, I kind of want to, I'll give the Etsy thing a try. I'll see what happens. If I sell nothing on it, that's fine. It's just an experiment.
No big deal. Yeah.
People started buying stuff. It was just and it's not my full-time thing at all. It's been slowly growing without a whole lot of input from me. And I'm starting to put more input into it, which has helped it grow even more. But I've been like John's lightsaber designs, which are amazing. When he comes out with new ones, I'll post them. I've got some of my own designs where I've made like some Game Boy keychains, and I always put kind of like my own personal touch into something too. It's actually funny because somebody made a Game Boy keychain and was selling the files on Cults, and it was a good file. I'm not saying it wasn't a good file at all, but Cults actually posted and like shared the Game Boy file. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I actually have one that has a battery compartment in the back of it. I commented back, and Colts was like, yeah, that's cool too. So it's like, I just like, if I'm making a little Game Boy keychain, I want to put a little battery compartment on the back. That's fun,
Something different, yeah.
Yeah, I want to jump on a trend and make a pumpkin spice latte, during the October time period, and I became at Open Sauce in LA. I got to actually meet and hang out with the owner of Canadian Filaments, and he's the guy who kind of started the pumpkin spice filament thing, and he sent me a roll, and I was like, so I'm making a pumpkin spice latte keychain, right? But you see those little brown specks in the cardboard section? That's actual pumpkin spice. Oh, and also the lid pops off and it has like whipped cream on the inside. So I think adding little touches,
different stuff. Yep.
Exactly.
Standing
adding the
out.
little like details and functional touches and stuff, I think have helped out a lot. I also make, I do laser stuff too. I've been making, like dog tags for cosplay. This is a set that I made recently. I don't know if you'd be able to see it, but for an ODST cosplayer that just kind of has their, I don't know, other way. But it just has some fake fun information for their costumers, for their cosplays. I've done a lot of Ghostbusters dog tags and stuff, and I just keep throwing random things up there. If I work on a project for a friend, or if I work on a project for myself, I'm just kind of like, let's throw it up there and see what happens.
Yeah, see if it sticks. Like you said, at that point is if it doesn't sell, then take it down, put the next thing up.
Doesn't hurt to keep it up either. Jim, I'm just adding more items and showing that I have a wide range of things.
Especially if you got just a couple of them already printed, then if they're sitting there, then hey, even if it's 2 months from now and somebody decides, hey, I want that, then hey, it's already printed, the money's already spent.
If I'm making a solution for myself that doesn't exist yet, I cannot be the first person who's had that problem. Yep. Like the numbers are against me on that one. There's no way. There's not a single person on the planet that also wants one of these things or has run into the same issue. So like, I won't just make something that's like functional and that's it. I'll make something that's functional. It looks good. I'll put some extra time and thought process into like as little post-production as possible, making sure things are as strong as possible, thinking about materials to make sure it's going to be long lasting. And I'll actually develop it as if I'm thinking in terms of developing something as a project. Or as a product, not just for myself.
Yeah, that way you have a kind of a polished, finished product.
Like
you said,
so like something
minimally hands-on, print it and go.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of like if you're doing the 3D printing for a business or as a tool to make products for the ideas that to make the product ideas that you have for selling. These are things that you have to like really start taking into consideration is like the less amount of time I have to put into post processing, the fewer supports that I have on the thing, the cleaner the surfaces, adding certain design elements or like structural, for structural integrity, make sure the thing is strong, make sure it's in a material that's going to last for its environment, that kind of stuff. Is what sets things apart from somebody just downloading something and printing it and saying, hey, I can sell this to you, $10, here we go. And like I said, the Etsy thing is not something that's a full-time thing. It could eventually be. It'd be cool if it was. I've amassed a couple extra printers to keep up with that kind of stuff, but it's not enough to pay the bills yet,
That's what I've kind of always used mine for is, if I can make extra money, and it was always just more to, if it could support the hobby, great. And then, then of course, then it leads to a, position with a company that I bought from for a couple of years. So it's
and on that note, it's like I know that this is meant more to be a talk and not necessarily like a direct plug or like a commercial, but I do want to say, like, I print in Polymaker filaments almost totally exclusively. I would say maybe 90% of the filament I have in my collection for creating products is Polymaker filament. And that is entirely...
What Nick would say is we need to figure out the 10% you don't use, why, and what do we need to start making? That way we can get 100%. So
I don't
we'll have to talk
say,
after this.
Well, I don't want to say the brands that... because again, I don't necessarily want to like plug people. I'll talk to people about it. We love all
filaments, but
everybody
but makes, there's good specialty filaments out there that we don't make, and there's good stuff out there.
Well, and there's two things that I do when I make Etsy listings, or if I'm selling things at a show. I advertise that I print things in high quality materials. So I don't want to say that and then print in something that's not high quality. So like I said, 90% of my library is Polymaker filament specifically because, one, the quality consistency is always there. Again, I'm not trying to make a commercial. I'm just talking.
I appreciate it.
The quality consistency is always there. The color consistency between batches, if I'm making something that's a product that I'm not planning on painting, again, as little post-processing as possible, I want each batch. I want to make sure that if I get a roll now, 3 months from now, I'm going to get a roll that's the same color. So I stick with Polymaker for that. The other 10% of filaments is literally just because if I'm working on a personal project and I don't necessarily care about the quality, if I'm going to be printing like a crap ton of drawers and grids for like a Gridfinity setup, and I know that I'm going to end up using like 12 rolls, I'm going to get it as cheap as I can because I don't need it to be perfect. I'm not advertising to anybody that it's going to be high quality stuff.
It's going into a drawer. You're not going to see it anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's the only reason I have some extras of some other brands. But
I think we all have that same thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, my inventory is, of course, majority Polymaker, but I've got a whole melting pot of other filaments, and some of them are just because hey, it was super cheap, or like I said, okay, we don't have this exact surface effect, or even colors. We don't have all the colors. While we have a lot of colors, we don't have them all. Eventually, but
and that's why I didn't want to like. That's why I didn't want to like. Yeah, it wasn't that I didn't want to plug something that wasn't Polymaker. It's that I knew I was about to say, I only use it if I don't want quality, and I didn't want to bash anybody. That's why I didn't mention any brands.
So I don't use this brand and this brand and this brand.
I use these brands if I just need some crap real quick. That's not what I'm. It's just price point, and I don't need it to be consistent between batches and stuff like that. If I'm gonna advertise something online that I'm gonna say, hey, I make this out of high quality filaments, I'm gonna use Polymaker.
There you go. Well, we're kind of coming to the end here, so
I'm so sorry. I'm just
that's
verbal vomit.
I've learned a lot about you, and that's what I always tell people, even after the shows and Discord and everything else, is that's what I love about doing this show is most of the people I don't really know that well, or some of them I don't even know at all until I.
That's what I love about hot makes, dude.
And you get to know it, like
so many people,
stuff, and it's just the connections you make, and they're like, okay, now I understand you better. So that's the kind of the whole goal is, so that way people, when they see you next time at a rep wrap, they understand you a little bit better. Maybe they can make a funny quip about something that you said, or hey, 501st, hey, what's your opinion on this, or what can you help me out or suggest on this? So no, it's all those little things that we don't realize that just kind of add up and build the story of who we are. And like I said, that's where I've had many of guests come on like, I'll try not to ramble on. No, I ramble. Look what I'm doing now.
We all do, man.
But no, like I said, but it's cool.
It's easy to ramble when you're passionate about something.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that makes these interviews that much more enjoyable. I never want it to be as strict. Okay, we have to do this and we have this. Hey, we're 5 minutes in. We should be talking about this now. Like I started the first few shows, like I would have most of the questions written on a card.
That doesn't work.
After a few, it's too robotic. And then I would realize the conversation would lead to different things anyway off template. It's like, I don't need a template. It's just, let's make it an organic, conversation, and it's fun. Like I said, it's fun for me. Hopefully the people that are watching, it's fun for them, because I've been doing it for 43 episodes so far. But we normally do some community questions. Obviously,
Okay.
Right now, as people are watching this, I'm probably 30,000 feet up in the air, flying back to Ohio from Texas. So, I definitely appreciate you coming on. Real quick, we'll do some rapid fire questions.
Okay. All right.
We always start the easiest ones. What is your favorite filament, color, and or surface effect?
Ooh. Because I do a lot of lightsabers and stuff. Obviously, I kind of gravitate towards some silk silvers, silk reds, silk golds, that kind of stuff. I think if I had to pick a favorite surface effect, I don't know if I can.
Many out there.
I know, and I'm also, because my stuff oftentimes is like functional or like slightly replica, or meant to be kind of like a replica or similar replica to something. I don't really go for like the tricolor or specifically a matte or like a rainbow. Oh no, that's a good one. Okay, I got the Polyterra rainbow. The matte rainbow. Yeah, I got a roll of that just to mess with it, and I don't print with it often, because every time I print with it, it's very like specific, because like Sarah and I love that color, so that's a fun
that special filament that we really like. It's like
we just don't use it very often.
Print with it. It's our favorite. Yep. We rarely print because like, well, I don't know, even though I can order more, like it's just. I
just want to use it for special things. Yeah, and oftentimes it ends up being for Sarah, because she's awesome. But
there you go.
Other than that, it's just aside from having a specific material or surface finish that I really like, what's cooler to me is looking at the library of filament that I have and just seeing that rainbow across the shelf. Like, so I don't know if that's a cop out or not, but just like, it's more so the collection than the specific filament that's my favorite.
Nope. I have the same thing of just, I kind of have all the colors, and, even before I worked for Polymaker, it was about building, I want the whole library. I want to see the wall of all the different colors and everything else. So nope. I will agree with you on that.
And I've kept, I will say again, not necessarily trying to plug, but I will eternally have, thank yous to throw at Nick and Polymaker for helping me rebuild a library of filament after they were all waterlogged after that tornado. Yeah, that was one of the biggest moments of realizing how much people actually cared, even though I felt like I was kind of alone in a lot of instances. That was one of the biggest instances of realizing, oh no, I actually kind of have a family online of people who care. That helping me rebuild that library, and I've just kind of kept up with stuff. When I ran out of, I don't have a single roll now that's the same roll that I originally got during that refill. But every time when I use it up, I just purchase my own as a replacement. So I gotta stop rambling. I don't know if I answered the.
Sorry. Yeah, we'll go collection, matte rainbow, either or.
Okay.
Second question.
Okay, I'll actually rapid fire now. Okay, focused.
What print are you most proud of?
Ooh, I actually sold it. But one of my favorite prints that I was the most proud of for the longest time was a Scout Trooper helmet from Return of the Jedi. I printed it and finished it back when I worked at CME-CNC. It traveled all the way to Arkansas with me because it was a display piece in my collection for so long. I took it to an event earlier this year just to kind of show people, hey, I can make helmets. It's not just like fun display piece toy lightsabers. And somebody refused to leave the event without it in their hands. And I was like, it's meant to be a display piece. And his price offer just kept going up until I was like, all right, it's kind of hard for me to say. I can make another one. Yeah. And I haven't made another one. But also, I actually did pretty good at that event. And you can't see it because it's super blurry. But it turned into one of my favorite collection pieces, which is a 90%. It's a 90% graded K 1977 R2 D2 Kenner figure. I love
Nice.
Astromechs. You can kind of see some of them back there, but there's way more on this wall over here. I collect Astromechs. So when his price raised to the point where I was not only able to turn around and go purchase like a really expensive collectible figure from this other booth, but still make a profit off of it, I was like, yeah, I can let go of the helmet.
Yeah.
But that
This
helmet
is a
was
little
my
bit
favorite.
cooler. I'll buy this over here with that money.
Yeah, that one was the print that I was most proud of for the longest time.
Awesome. Now, speaking, of course, of Star Wars, what's the best Star Wars? What movie?
Ooh. I thought I was trying not to rant anymore. You're not making it easy. Okay, long story short, I think Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie, but only within the context of the other ones. So if Rogue One didn't exist, Empire Strikes Back is always my all-time favorite. Second favorite is always going to be Attack of the Clones, which I know it has problems, but I was the right age for when that came out, so I was obsessed with it when it came out, and it was also because I was in that age group. It was the first Star Wars movie I ever got to see in theaters, so that always holds a special place in my heart. But Empire Strikes Back was the first Star Wars I ever watched. It will always be my favorite. Rogue One, I would say, is my favorite, but again, it only like it. If no other Star Wars existed, I wouldn't like it as much. So it's not tied,
in the
but
content.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then last question we'll go with is, of course, you're part of Hot Makes, doing all the episodes and Hot Makes and everything. Who has been the absolute worst guest? No, I'm just. We don't throw that out there.
I don't want to say who. I don't want to say who, but I will say you. You understand. Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's so hard to deal with. I just dread going on a trip. No, you understand this, I'm sure, because of the Meet the Polymaker show. But those who are watching might not necessarily know. You'd be surprised how many people might have, again, I'm not going to name names, but we have had a few guests where it's like they have a decent sized YouTube channel. They make content all the time, and they make designs, and they're well respected in the community, and they're very active and stuff. But then they come on the show and it's like talking to a brick, dude. They just don't say they're like deer in headlights. And it's like you're carrying the conversation.
Yes.
And it's like you say something and they don't respond. And I'm like, okay, so moving on.
Yeah, that's some skills you have to learn as you deal with it.
Exactly.
Okay, how do I react? But on a more serious note, with Hot Makes, being part of that. I mean, not even Hot Makes. I guess really just of being involved with the 3D printing community. What has been your most favorite, like on location, whether it be an event or a place you went to record? What has been kind of your, I don't want to say favorite because it's probably hard to narrow it down, but one of the most memorable places that you've been or had the best interactions with? And not directly a person, but just kind of, an event.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to preface it with, it does not mean the other events or the other people that I've met were not
downplaying those.
Good.
Yep.
No, it's just if I had to pick a favorite, going to Open Sauce earlier this year was one of, like, I never thought that I'd be in a situation like that. And again, huge thanks to Sam for wanting to get me involved. Huge thanks to Sam and Polymaker for letting me be involved in those things and the plans that we're setting up for next year as well. But like, man, the fact that it was like a Rep Rap festival, but it was not specifically 3D printing,
Yeah, and that's what I've heard. Anybody that's talked about it is, it's a Rep Rap with so much more. Rep Rap, of course, can have kind of any type of maker, but there's a vast array of different things and different fields and everything else. So now, it's I'm excited to go to this year, or next year, I guess.
And there's a fun story behind it that was just like due to a kind of like weird scheduling miscommunication. Like, we did have a Polymaker / Death Racers booth there for Sam, but Sam and I were running around and recording. So the booth ended up being babysat by Nick. Like Nick and Sean ended up being the
Sam
booth
was
babes
just in
for the
hangout
weekend.
yesterday, the day before, and had that specific
Yeah.
the story was the fact of like, yeah, they kind of were there just to run the booth for me. And said, well, you know, as long
But
as
that was one of my
somebody's there to do
first instances of like really getting to meet and spend some actual time with Nick. That was my first time I actually met Sean in person and got to know him
it. Also
as a
another
person.
great guy. Yep.
And I got to do a bunch of filming with them. You know, there was a little bit of that kind of relationship of like talent and director, but also, oh, that's a fun idea, I'm going to record that, versus, hey, I really want you to do this. Like, I love that kind of relationship where it's like nobody's the boss of anybody, but we're just working together on
Just
making
have fun.
some
Yeah,
cool
we
stuff.
all have the same goal. Let's do
Exactly.
this and have fun
And
doing it. So
we made so much fun stuff happen when we were there, as well as getting to meet new people, like Garrett from the Woodshed, and Austin Bradley, who has the Furby robot dog that creeps everybody out.
yeah.
Like there's so many people. Also, getting to meet Allie from Alley Cats Creates for the first time in person, and then kind of starting to do some editing for their channel as well, every now and then. But like, yeah, as far as like, I love the Rep Rap festivals. I love catching up with everybody. But
Absolutely,
Open Sauce was such a new experience, warm and fuzzy feeling, new experience. Hey, we're best friends now. New experience. It just was constantly
all over
and
the
like,
board. Yep.
yeah.
Well, that is all I have for questions. So I'll give you just a 30 seconds or so to kind of plug. Is there any websites people can find you on, see what projects you're working on, or even your Etsy? Is there right now? The stage is yours to talk about anything you want. Plug whatever you want. There are no restrictions.
Okay, so what do we have? 45 minutes left. All right,
Yeah.
let's go. No, I'm kidding. No, I just I have my personal website that's basically a portfolio of my like video production and graphic design stuff. It's calebferris.com. My Etsy is Bear Knot Fabrications, which nobody knows how to spell or pronounce if you're seeing the words. But it's like the concept is just like a bear astronaut, like my nickname from Sarah is Bear, and I like space. So that's what I do on Etsy, as well as Maker Beast Creative, which is, like I said, my family and friends all get together and help each other build and sell things. Hot Makes, of course, I think there's a link to that on here somewhere. I can't see it.
You can't.
All I
see
have
it,
is
it's there. I promise.
Yeah. Okay.
That or I'm just pointing. People are like, "What is he pointing at?"
Yeah. And then I think that's it for the most part. There's other stuff like locally, but that's not going to necessarily matter. And I wanted to say too, like, I am absolutely not like a huge resource of amazing information, but if somebody's watching and they have any questions or wanted to bounce some ideas, or you just like, hey, that dude's not so bad, I can kind of tolerate him, maybe we can be friends. Just reach out.
People just tolerate me.
Yeah. Just I think you put my Twitter handle in the link in the doobly doos again as well. So yeah, just reach out. I'm here to make friends, and I love everybody in this
Awesome.
community.
And
Like,
probably
good
see you
people.
here in the future at the upcoming events next year.
Oh yeah. I know that there's at least 4 on the docket, and I'm hoping a couple more might be popping up too. So
there we go. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks, man.
I know it's a Sunday when we're not pre-recording this. This is definitely fully live. But no, I appreciate you giving me your time, and I'll let you go to get your stuff done, and I will see you here soon.
I'll end up seeing you at some point next week or next year.
There you go.
Next week.
Next week. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Thanks again for being on.
You too, man. Thank you. We'll get you on Hot Mix next. We'll end up swapping.
Anytime, man. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too. Later.
See ya. There you go. And that is it for the show. So thanks everybody for coming. I want to mention a few things. I know we don't have a giveaway. Hopefully you guys have stuck around for it. If you didn't, I don't blame you. This guy right here, a half hour is enough, let alone over an hour. So, but we normally do a giveaway every episode when we are live. Like I said, I had to travel to Houston this week. So right now, as you're watching this, I'm up in an airplane. Hopefully everything's going well. No major turbulence. You'll find out soon because you'll see me in Discord Thursday late evening or not. So other than that, we do have a few projects going on. As always, we have our Polymaker figurines led by Antoine, and I still don't pronounce it right. Pezlis is going to kill me. Dimensions is how I've pronounced it, but it's not but Antoine Dimensions. He does a video every 2 days on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, across the board, where he releases a new model. Also, when he does those videos, that becomes free for download on Maker World of that Pokemon that he's working on. And he's right down to the wire of finishing all the first 151. So what's to come in the future, we'll have to see. We also have our Polymaker education, which is led by CreateXprit. Those ones I all pronounced properly. Those are available also through TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, where she does the same format as she does the videos, the models she uses in the videos for teaching of various different things across the board, from kids to adults, everything in between. That model then becomes available on Maker World also under Polymaker Education. So be sure to follow her there, like those, comment. If you guys got questions, suggestions, she reads all of them. So definitely show her some love there. And finally, we have Pezliz, who does in-printing color every Wednesday on her Twitch at twitch.tv/Pezliz. And those times can vary. So if you go see her schedule on Twitch, you'll see it there. Sometimes it's a little bit earlier, sometimes later for Europe and US. But always going over the different colors, surface effects, the many filaments that are Polymaker. So those are the projects we have going on. We are here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you like what you see and you had some fun, maybe win some filament if that's what you're here for too. Either way, we are here every Thursday. We're getting closer and closer to that 52 weeks consecutive every Thursday having a show. So thank you all for the support coming into this. Again, it's not live, so we do not have a raid today, but I encourage you, go out there, find somebody that's, in the making world and show them some love, show them some support. There's a ton of makers out there, always doing some amazing things to inspire others. So again, go show some love. You guys have yourself a wonderful night, a wonderful weekend, and a wonderful week. And I hope to catch you here next week.